For 7 drivers, this is it. Their last chance to make the season-opening Pensacola 500. It's the one-up duel number 1 here at Pensacola International Speedway. And alongside me for this race is Duke Anzac, scheduled to race in duel number 2, but he's found time to join us in the booth for duel number 1. I ask you this. What can you take from this race that you can bring into your own race to try and make your way through the field?
Well, there's going to be a lot of stuff to take away because I'm going to be able to learn what the track is doing, what lines are working the best. It's about the same amount of cars in both races, so I'm going to kind of see what the trends are. But mainly, I'm concerned because usually when we have duels like this, one of the races is kind of crazy and the other one is kind of calm. So, you know me, I'm racing in the second one. I'm hoping that this one is the crazy one so that I've got the calm one. But, of course, we're about to find out if that has any truth to it at all. And boy, am I excited.
So for right now, we have 25 cars lined up for duel number 1. Christian Vargas on pole position due to him qualifying first on pole day, which was streamed earlier in the week on various services. J.D. Martin's alongside him in row 2. Sam Donotto and William Brock are safe. They are locked into the 500, starting 3rd and 6th respectively. But there are 7 drivers in this race. Diego Yepes, Joshua Lee, Sam Warning, Ethan Zanstra, Anderson Reed, Daniel Voiles, and Orion Spartaco. They are on the hot seat because all 7 of those drivers are racing for 3 spots in this race, and only 3 of them will make it, leaving 4 on the outside looking in. It's going to be a very pressure-packed race for those 7 drivers, but who are you keeping your eye on for this race?
Well, I really think that you're going to want to keep your eye on the guys that are starting farther in the back. I think that they're going to just be more aggressive than those that are starting closer to the front. I think that they're going to really try to move through the field really quickly. And, you know, when you have this tight racing, sometimes it just ends up in a situation where you've got a lot of aggression going on, and that can lead to a crash. So I think that that's where all the action is going to be, closer to the back of the pack starting this race.
So that being said, 25 cars are lined up ready to take the green flag, and we're ready to bring that green flag to you. This is the 1UP Superstar Series duel number 1 from Pensacola. Stay tuned. So with Vargas and Martin on the front row, this is going to be an interesting race. We've got 7 cars trying to fill 3 spots. The green flag is out. We're underway in the first of the 2 duels, and Christian Vargas gets out to a pretty good lead. But J.D. Martin's still on his outside. That could cause problems, especially as the outside lane's starting to form up a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we've just got to watch those guys that are really going to have to race hard to get into the big race here. That's going to be one of the big storylines today. But it looks like that 54 car, he's cleared that outside line, and he's sailing away right now. Sam Nonono right behind him, moving up to the outside lane to block.
So it's Vargas out in the lead with Sam Donotto second. But here comes Lane Sanders with help from Nick Ortiz on the inside. 2 Fords working together.
Oh boy, they're going 3.
Ortiz makes it 3 wide. 4 wide behind him with Sam Warning, making a 4 wide with Wyatt Dooling as J.D. Martin drops to the back of the line. But you've got Sam Warning with help from Ethan Zanstra. Those are 2 of the guys we were talking about at the top of the show that needed good runs tonight to help their chances of making the 500, because their only shot is by finishing in highest of the go-or-go-home cars. But up front, it's Nick Ortiz making a move on the inside with help from Sam Warning, and now Nick Ortiz to the lead, past Christian Vargas on lap 2.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Sam Warning, he moved all the way up there in 1 lap. He started 12th with the help of Ethan Zanstra at first, and now it's McMillan right behind him. But that is impressive. That 2 car is fast right now, and he's going for the lead.
Sam Warning going for the lead with help from Andres Molina now. He started deep in the field. Ryan Soper as well. Anderson Reed up in the second lane. Now he's in one of the transfer spots. Right now it's Warning, Reed, and Zanstra in the transfer spots. Look at the bottom lane though. Richard Herman with help from the 2 Salisbury cars. Orion Spartaco on the inside lane is making his way towards the front in the underpowered Salisbury Dodge with help from his teammate and team owner Braden Saul.
This is incredible. We've got 3 lanes of racing and a couple stragglers on the 4th lane right now. This is wild racing.
with Andres Molina battling for the lead, with Sam Wooding with help from Ryan Silber. This is a road course expert, but he's showing his strength on the super speedways. But another road course expert, Richard Herman, on the inside. 3 Dodges lined up on the inside lane, led by Richard Herman, with Ryan Spartaco and Braden Saul making their moves to the front of the field. They started last on the grid, but now they're already making gains as they fan out down this long front straightaway to complete lap number 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's really dangerous for the rest of the field when you've got manufacturers lined up like that, because they're not going to move away from each other. But I was immediately proven wrong before I even said it, because they moved up the track a little bit and it kind of split them up. But the 87 and the 53, they're looking strong right now. They're pulling away a little bit.
So with Spartaco now in second position, he's got a good advantage over the rest of the go-home cars right now. And coming through to complete lap, looks like we got trouble in the back here. But I saw, and Ethan Zanstra's involved too. One of the go-homers. His chances of making the 500 for the second year in a row have just tanked. Bobo Jones is involved. Nick Ortiz is in this crash as well.
Wow.
They're going to race their way back to the yellow flag. But Ethan Zanstra's hopes of making the Pensacola 500 have just suffered a serious blow with this impact with the outside wall. And the caution flag is out here on lap number 5.
Wow, that's really unfortunate for these drivers. I can't even believe that.
And I saw Anderson Reed with damage as well. He's also one of those cars that has to race his way, and he's got some serious damage as well. Could his chances have just tanked as well, as Richard Herman takes the caution flag with Ben McDonald second, Orion Spartaco third. But man, oh man, oh man, we've got Zanstra with heavy damage as well. I really want to see where this caution flag started, because this is a harsh break for the Jeff Bolton Racing driver, Ethan Zanstra, whose hopes of making the Pensacola 500 have just suffered a serious blow that I'm not sure he can recover from. So with Ethan Zanstra now out of contention, Anderson Reed possibly out of contention, that leaves only 5 drivers with a shot at 3 spots, with still 25 laps to go. You said at the top of the show, there's Anderson Reed with damage, severe damage to his hood. You said at the top of the show there was going to be one calm duel and one crazy duel.
Yeah.
And I think we've just seen the craziness show its hand early here in duel number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. This is crazy. I'm curious about how Nick Ortiz was in this. Like, I really would like to see where this started, because he was running up front in the beginning of the race, and then all of a sudden he's taken out in this crash with a couple other cars, and it's not looking good for his chances in this duel. These guys, they have to race the same car or go to a backup car, so it's a tough deal for these guys to get in a wreck in a race like this.
So it looks like Anderson Reed will actually attempt to repair the damage on his car. He will be able to get back into this race, albeit very much off the pace. Same with Ethan Zanstra. They're hoping for a miracle. They're hoping that all these cars will suffer enough, that more cars will suffer terminal damage, and that will elevate them into a spot in the 500.
Yeah, absolutely. And from the racing that I've seen in this race so far, 3 wide all the way back, that anything can happen. We've seen crazier things than a damaged car making it into the big race after repairing damage from an early crash.
So we'll get you a replay of what happened in this first duel race that took Ethan Zanstra and Anderson Reed out of a shot to make the Pensacola 500. This is 1UP Superstar Series duel number 1 from. So you see they're 5 wide, actually, in the middle of the pack. That is not a good sign to start off with.
No, not a good idea at all.
And you can see William Brock to Bobo Jones' inside. He had nothing to do with it. But, man, hard impact for Zanstra, for Jones, and Reed was just an innocent victim here in this accident. But same story for all 5 of these cars that were involved in this crash. All of them have seen their hopes of winning the duel go out the window. And for Zanstra and Reed, their hopes of making the big race just took a swan dive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a classic case of too many cars trying to fit in too small of a spot.
We are on board now with Anderson Reed. This is going to be a hard impact for sure that took him out of a shot to make the big race. You can see Jones just goes up a little bit into Zanstra, and Ortiz just gets collected along right there. And then Reed just gets tagged by Zanstra's back bumper, and from there it's just a case of wrong place at the wrong time.
Absolutely. Yeah, he almost made it through as well, but everything happened so fast. all the way around this track. There's just not enough room to get by something like that so quickly.
So with Reed and Zanstra down for the count, they are still in this race, albeit very much out of contention to make the 500. We still have 20 cars that can still win this race, and 5 cars that can actually make a run at making the 500. We've got Orion Spartaco in third. He's one of those guys. Jordan Presto is locked into the race, but a good job from the underfunded Capital Motorsports team. They are up in the top 5. Remember his teammate Allison Rose, who has to race her way in. She is in the second race. So no such luck for Jordan Presto to help his teammate out, but he's proving that the Capital Racing equipment can run well in the draft. But we've got Richard Herman leading, Ben McDonald second, Orion Spartaco third, Jared Polanski in the 4th position, Jordan Presto 5th, Braden Saul in 6th, J.D. Martin's dropped back to 7th, Daniel Voiles, who's also trying to make the big show, in 8th. He's in the 2nd transfer spot, ahead of Joshua Lee in the 07, your teammate, who's actually having a pretty solid race, in the 9th position. He also needs to race his way in. He's in the final transfer spot at the moment, right ahead of Stephen Hunter, who rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, and I just, not to jump the gun on this restart or anything, but what I'm looking for in this restart is the fact that they're going to be single file coming to the start instead of double file like they were at the beginning of this race. And I believe that could allow this racing to be a little bit toned down. They've all seen a crash now. They know what the consequences are of going 3 wide for so long. Now maybe these guys are going to start to calm down. They're going to realize that there's still a lot of time left in this race. They don't want to damage their car if they're not going for the win.
So with Richard Herman leading the way in his Dodge-sponsored Dodge, Ben McDonald in 2nd, Orion Spartaco in 3rd, Polanski and Presto round out the top 5. The lights are out on the pace car, so we will be going green this time by. I'm curious to see if Spartaco can hang on in his underpowered Dodge to try and make the big race, because he was a long shot to make it. He started this duel in 23rd position after posting the 45th fastest time on pole day, so he was definitely not fastest in a single car run. But in the draft, he's proven to be very handy, along with his teammate Braden Saul.
Yeah, absolutely. The draft is the great equalizer, as they say, and it just makes it so that everybody has a decent shot, because the cars are pretty equal in a lot of senses. And when you get up behind somebody and the air pressure is lower, you just go a little bit faster. But that's not discounting any of these cars by any means, because this type of racing is a different kind of intense. It's just absolutely insane trying to drive so close to so many other cars so fast. And then you always have that fear in the back of your mind that something like we just saw is going to happen right in front of you, where you get in a crash that had nothing to do with you at all when it started.
So with Richard Herman out front, the pace car is going to make the hard left turn on the pit road, this time by. We will take the restart on lap number 9 with 22 laps to go, with 5 cars still fighting for 7 spots, 5 cars fighting for 3 spots, pardon me, in the big Pensacola 500. The green flag is out. We're back underway, and Richard Herman gets a pretty big jump. But remember what we saw in the shootout last week. Getting a big jump on the restart is not by any means what you want.
Yeah, and I'm already noticing an outside lane starting to form. A couple of those guys went up there after they lost a little bit of time on that big jump from the 53 car. So we're watching the 12 was one of those guys that he didn't get a huge jump, but now he's in the draft. He's catching up with a big push from Jared Polanski, who's going to jump out to the bottom. Oh, he's going to leave him out to dry, but he has no drafting help.
Now they're back together, though, and they're going to work their way past Richard Herman. Now the Saul Speed cars are back together, this time with Braden Saul leading the way, ahead of Orion Spartaco. The two similarly painted 78 and 87 Dodges are back in a single file line. Spartaco still has the top transfer spot, as Voiles looks like he's going to take the second transfer spot for the time being. I'm just looking to see who's going to make the big show as Polanski makes a move on the inside for the race lead.
Oh boy, this is starting to get a little bit crazy farther back. You know, that third row right there, they just went 3 wide. I saw somebody get a little bit loose or make a big move on the front stretch that time by. This is just, they're racing like it's the last lap. Boys, there's still 20 laps to go in this thing.
But here comes Orion Spartaco. He's making a move for the lead. He wants to prove that his running today has been no fluke. They're 4 wide behind him. But the driver of the Peak Dodge is putting his car into the lead with help from Stephen Hunter. They fan out down the front straightaway, but Stephen Hunter, with help from Daniel Voiles, who needs to make the race on his speed today, is making a move for the lead. Now, Stephen Hunter, the defending champion, he's got 2 Toyota teammates lined up on the inside with Molina and Vargas. So Hunter got a train of Toyotas on the inside, helping him to the lead.
Yeah, they've made it past the point of the single file restart, helping them be more tame. They're back to 3 wide racing, and it's getting crazy. We're seeing people make big blocks on the straightaways here, coming out of the corners, and then they're getting caught out to dry. I think that the key to winning this race and staying up front is to stay in your line. Try to keep those guys behind you, pushing you as the leader. And there we just saw it again. He moved up the track, the 51 did, and now the 54 is going to get under him, and the 41 is going to get under them. So it's
Lane Sanders making the move on the inside past the 2 Revolution Racing teammates of Hunter and Vargas. That's going to allow Lane Sanders, with help from Diego Yepes, who needs to make the race on speed. He's currently in second, and he holds the top transfer spot right now with help from Wyatt Dooling and another Ford behind him. But Lane Sanders has taken his Ford Mustang out to a very sizable lead. But here comes Diego Yepes trying to steal the show. Diego Yepes trying to make the race on speed. He's going to take the lead in this first series start.
Yeah, absolutely he is. He's down there. He's leading this race now. I'll tell you what, these guys that are all fighting to get into the race, they are all putting on a good show, because I see that number 2 car as well. He's back on the bottom.
Oh, we've got trouble in the back.
Oh, and there's a crash.
And it looks being involved. Braden Salt and Joshua Lee is involved. His hopes of making the 500 have just gone down the drain, along with William Brock, who's got some serious damage to his Dodge. Braden Salt's involved in this one. He was showing such good speed earlier in this race. But his race will be done for as well. And Joshua Lee for Carter Racing Systems, his hopes of making the big race have just swan dived out of contention. Diego Yepes leads the way under caution flag with Wyatt Dooling in tow. Ricky Freeman Jr.'s in tow as well. They're coming back to the caution flag. Diego Yepes will have the lead at the caution flag. But another crash here on lap number 13 has eliminated yet another of the go or go homers, this time in Joshua Lee.
Yeah, that's an absolute shame, and I'll tell you what, the cars that crashed in that first crash, they're looking pretty good right now, because I don't know if they were, or if any of them were in it, but if they made it through, then they're going to gain some spots, and it's just this kind of crazy racing. It leads to this type of thing, so it's a darn shame for those guys. Hopefully they'll be able to get into the pits and at least repair enough to maintain some track position and maybe get through another couple of crashes.
And you see Richard Herman with damage. He led on the last restart. Sam Donato's off the pace, so it looks like it'll be down to 4 drivers. It'll be down to Diego Yepes, Orion Spartaco, Daniel Voiles, and it looks like the 2 of Sam Warning in the 2. Yeah. They will be left to contest the final 3 spots between these 4. One of them will go home, while 3 will celebrate making the 500, as Joshua Lee's hopes of making the race have just taken an irreparable blow. It's a shame, too. He showed some promise in the last 5 races of 2020 in his substitute role there. Yep. In his rookie campaign, he was doing well. He was riding in the back, persevering, trying to save his stuff for the end. But sadly for him, his hopes of making the 500 have just ended.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this started. We kind of saw it on the broadcast there, but it looked like somebody it might have been another case of too many cars in too little place. There's a Jared Polanski, I believe, who was having such a great run up front. All of a sudden, it's in the wall, and now you're in the pits fixing your car. You know, it just goes from top to bottom sometimes, just like that at this racetrack.
So Joshua Lee out for the count. We got 4 cars left in this race that can make the 500 on their speed. We've got William Brock out of the race, but he has locked up spot on speed from pole day, so he will be able to race his way in. He will start 41st, but he will be in the show. So you see Joshua Lee in the bottom lane. I'm curious if this is a similar situation going to happen. Yep, Daniel Voiles just tags Braden Saul, and Lee is just a victim, as is William Brock. He was so close to making it through, but Herman and Saul just came together at the wrong place for Joshua Lee. And just like that, William Brock's day is over for sure, but Brock will be able to race in the 500 based on his qualifying speed, so he will start the 500 from 41st position. And Joshua Lee's hopes of making the big race are done.
Man, that's a really unfortunate crash. I was right in my speculation that it just happened to be too many cars and too little of places, and this time it was a bigger crash because they, instead of moving to the top lane where there's a wall that stops them from going into the whole field, there was a hook that happened and they came down into the bottom of the track, and then there were cars everywhere, and you've got cars behind you pushing you, and you've got cars in front of you spinning out, and it's really just, there is not a lot that a driver can do in that situation when there's a big crash right in front of you. And unfortunately, it's just victims of the draft at this point that are really involved in these crashes. And you know, it's nothing the driver could have done. It's just how it is.
A victim of the draft, that's a key phrase that we'll hear a lot for the rest of Speed Weeks, as innocent victims of these crashes just have nowhere to go. But the lights are still on the pace car, so we'll have at least one more lap to go under caution. But we've got Diego Yepes out in the lead of this thing. He's making his first series start in a superstar car, so he is leading the way. Ricky Freeman Jr., who won the shootout earlier in Speed Weeks, is in second position. Stephen Hunter in third. Lane Sanders fourth. And Orion Spartaco continues to impress in the 87. He is in fifth. Wyatt Dewing in sixth. Sam Warning, who has the second transfer spot, is in seventh, ahead of Jordan Presto, Ryan Silper, and Jake McMillan rounding out the top 10. And it looks like in the final transfer spot right now, it appears that, actually no, it's Yepes, Warning, and Spartaco that have the transfer spots at the moment, with Daniel Voiles on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and those 3 transfer spots are in the top 5 right now, so that's, I mean, or the top 7, right? Or I'm confused maybe, but either way, that's really far up the field, you know, so it's 4 cars that are in good racing condition right now going for 3 spots. That's got to be a little bit of pressure off for those guys. But you have to do really well in this race. We're watching one of them leading this race, and that 77 car is pretty quick. And I'll tell you what, the number 2, Sam Warning, is also pretty quick. I've been seeing him making moves for this whole race so far. We're only halfway through at this point, so you're going to have to stay up front so that you can make it into the big race. That's all you can do.
The other transfer car, Daniel Voiles, is in 15th position right now, and that's pretty much as far back in the field as you can get as far as cars that are in race winning condition. So we got Daniel Voiles at the back of the pack. He's got some work to do to make his way into the 500, but Diego Yepes is in the best possible spot right now. He's leading the race. Freeman second, Hunter third, Sanders and Spartaco round out the top 5. Spartaco is in a good position. He's in the second transfer spot in 5th position. Two cars behind him is Sam Warning. He is in the most precarious position of the transfer spots. He's in the very last transfer spot. That can change in an instant, especially at a place like this with the draft being as big a factor as it is. And we saw was in the last restart that Richard Herman got a pretty big lead, and by the end of the first lap after the restart, he was nowhere to be seen in the lead pack.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm remembering from the beginning of the race when Sam Warning started 12th, and by the end of the first lap, he was fighting for the lead. So when you're starting 15th here, it might take a couple laps to get a couple of grooves, but you are not out of this race as long as you're still in the race. And that's what these guys have to remember for all of them that want to have a good starting position for the 500 and those that want to actually just be in the 500 at all. You have to remember that you have to be patient. You always have a chance as long as you're in that front draft.
So with 5 of the top 8 being Fords right now, the Ford contingent is showing their hand very much in play in this first duel. So Yepes out front, Freeman in second, Sanders in fourth, being the top Fords of the race, plus Wyatt Dueling and Jordan Presto in the top 10 as well. The Ford camp could have a really big day here tonight if they can hold on to these spots, but we still got plenty of racing left to go, and any of the other makes could show their hand because we've got all of them in the top 10 and 3 of them in the top 5.
Yeah, this is turning out to be a really interesting race here as we come back to green. We've got the 77 of Diego Yepes in the lead, and we're going to see how long he can hold it. Single file racing going back green here at Pensacola.
And with that being said, Wyatt Dueling and Jordan Presto are making a move to the outside, trying to get that second lane forming. But I really believe it's the inside lane that will prevail. Stephen Hunter makes a move to the inside of Ricky Freeman Jr. for position. That's going to get them caught up to Yepes in a hurry. I'm curious if Sanders will have a run coming through the corner from his 4th starting spot on the restart, because here comes Hunter on the inside with help from Sanders and Spartaco. I'm curious to see if this inside line will prevail. Here comes Sanders on the inside with help from both Spartaco and Warning on the inside. They're making it 3 wide for the lead already. Man. 3 wide, 2 rows deep.
Warning just went to the bottom, and look at that. Now he is up there in the leading transfer spot. That car is fast. He knows what he's doing on these restarts. He's done it twice now in this race, and you just have to avoid getting shuffled out because there's not the same amount of cars left. So the pack is going to be more scarce, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get back up to the front after getting shuffled out. And I'll say it. Time is running out, so it's time to get crazy if we haven't been crazy already, which you definitely have.
So with Lane Sanders out front, he's cursed his bad luck on super speedways. He's been in plenty of wrecks throughout his career on the super speedways, but he's leading right now with a 3 wide Toyota battle behind him. So it's Vargas, Molina, and Warning who's dropping back a little bit. So right now, McMillan is pushing Vargas, McDonald is pushing Molina, but it's Lane Sanders still out front right now as we take 11 laps to go in this race. Anything can still happen as they're shuffling for position. Here comes Ryan Soper on the inside, making it 4 wide for 3rd.
Oh my gosh, this is absolutely incredible. Here comes the 71 trying to clear the 41 for the lead. I think that he's done it, but there's help coming from behind from the 21. The 23 is on the bottom now. I mean, we've got new players almost every single lap of this race, and they're going 4 wide again.
Keep in mind, Daniel Voiles is still lurking on the bottom lane, trying to make his way back into the transfer spot. But right now, it's Andres Molina leading with Ryan Soper and Lane Sanders side by side. Soper is clear, Sanders for second, with help from J.D. Martin as well. So 2 Chevrolets pushing the Toyota of Andres Molina to the lead with 10 laps to go in the first of 2 duels here at Pensacola.
My goodness, this is incredible. I still feel like through the corners, at least, the bottom lane is the one that's prevailing almost every single time. You really want to be down there on the bottom to be able to make the moves and get to the front.
Take a look at this. Daniel Voiles is making a move. He's past Spartaco now. Daniel Voiles is in the transfer spot. Spartaco's now on the outside looking in, but he's making a move on Voiles once again, this time on the inside.
Oh,
this battle for the final transfer spot is getting very intense. Now, Orion Spartaco, with help from Jake McMillan, is getting past Daniel Voiles as Yepes and Warning pull away ahead of them.
Yeah, and don't you think for a second that these guys don't know exactly who they're still racing to get into the big race. They know exactly what the situation is, and they're going to race hard to get into this race. This is the big race. This is the first event, the 500. You know, this is, I mean, you have to be in this race, and everybody wants to. So they're going to race hard to get in it.
With Yepes, Warning, and Spartaco all lined up together on the inside line, they're leaving Daniel Voiles with very little room to improve. Here comes Ricky Freeman Jr. on the inside with help from Diego Yepes. He's going to try and take the lead and going to try and get a second straight Speed Weeks victory here in the first duel with help from his Ford teammate Yepes.
Yeah, he got shuffled out at the restart, but he's back up front. And same with the 77 car right up behind him, making a move to the bottom for the lead, but the 21 is putting him 3 wide. The racing on the front stretch, I'll tell you what, the 3 wide moves that these guys have been making, that's something that's going in my notebook for the next race in a few minutes here, because that I don't want to be put 3 wide in the middle of the front stretch here at Pensacola.
So Ricky Freeman Jr. now in the race lead with Jake McMillan second, Christian Vargas, Diego Yepes side by side for position. Spartaco's making a move with help from Stephen Hunter. Spartaco now in the top transfer spot. Yepes dropping back a little bit, but now the focus is on the front few with Christian Vargas now. Remember, he needs to bring this car home in one piece in order to maintain his pole position for the 500, but he's racing like it's the last lap, and we still got 7 to go.
Oh man, that is a fast car, and they're going 4 wide for the lead with the 51 on the bottom. This is amazing.
Almost contact between Spartaco and Vargas, and that's going to allow Daniel Voiles to get back into the picture. He's now making a move on Yepes for the final transfer spot. Warning and Spartaco are safe right now, but Diego Yepes is certainly not. He's now on the outside looking in because Daniel Voiles has made a move on him for the final transfer spot.
Sheesh, and we were just talking about Ricky Freeman Jr., who was running up front, and now he's on the outside of 4 wide in the last row of the draft. I mean, same with the 21 car. This race is cycling like nothing else, and we've got Sam Warning in the lead. Oh, this is incredible.
So Daniel Voiles has moved into the final transfer spot. Diego Yepes on the outside looking in as we take 6 laps to go in this race. Warning is in the middle 3 wide. He's got Spartaco pushing him, and all 4 of the remaining go or go home cars are in that middle lane with only Jordan Presto separating the 4 of them.
Wow, this is something like I've never seen before. We got McDonald in the lead, and this middle groove is looking really good right now, but I've been saying it multiple times. The bottom lane is where you want to be. Here comes the 23 with a huge run from the 41 behind, who we've seen lead in this race before. The 41 is fast, and Ricky Freeman Jr. is right back up there. There's a lap car.
They're coming to lap Braden Saul. This could be a big factor in who makes the 500. McDonald clears him, but they're stacking up behind him, and oh no, Orion Spartaco, his teammate, is holding him up on the middle lane, and there goes Daniel Voiles. Could Orion Spartaco's hopes of making the 500 have just gone down the drain because of his teammate holding him up?
That's going to be a meeting that I don't want to be part of. Oh my goodness. I don't know if he's going to be able to catch back up to the lead draft. He's so far behind now.
We still got 5 laps to go. Anything can still happen, but now Spartaco on the ropes trying to make his first ever start in the 500, but he's got a long way to go to make his way back up to the front, as right now Ben McDonald still holds the lead of this race, but right now Spartaco on the ropes, on the fence, trying to make his first ever start. But right now it's Freeman out in front with McDonald second, Dueling third. They're nowhere near close enough to lapping Anderson Reed, so it looks like this race will go to distance from here on out. But Ben McDonald now on the inside of Ricky Freeman Jr. with Sam Warning pushing him. Warning, Yepes, and Voiles are now in the free transfer spots, so anything can still happen. Spartaco is not out of this yet, but it's going to take a miracle for him as we approach the end of this race.
Well, the miracle might include a crash, and these guys are 3 wide yet again. Somehow, with so few cars, they'll find a way to be 4 wide up front. Here's the 87 car. What a tough situation for that car. I mean, they were running so good. Spartaco was up front, and he just got really unlucky with a teammate. That's a tough break.
But the gap is closing a little bit. We've got 3 laps to go, and Daniel Voiles is on the outside line. He's got help from Wyatt Dooling, his teammate, but the outside line just does not seem to be the best line to go with right now. Voiles does get to the inside lane, but you can see Spartaco in the back gaining ground. McMillan making a push on the inside past Sanders. They're 4 wide for third, but keep an eye out for Orion Spartaco. He's not out of this thing yet.
Yes, something interesting just to keep in mind as we're coming to the close of this race. When you have a string of cars that are single file, that's going to be a lot faster than cars that are 2 and 3 wide because of the hole that they're punching in the air. So if those cars in the back were pushing Spartaco, if they can stay in a line, they're going to catch them. They're in the draft at this point. It's not over for Spartaco.
And Yepes is now on the outside lane. So Diego Yepes is by no means safe as we have 1.5 laps to go in this first duel. Spartaco has caught up to the lead pack, and he's right on the bumper of Diego Yepes for position.
That is for the transfer spot, too, and Sam Warning is right there as well. All 4 of the drivers are right there, side by side, fighting to get into the Pensacola 500.
Spartaco makes the move on Yepes. We're coming to the white flag this time. And Orion Spartaco is now through into the transfer spot. Diego Yepes on the outside looking in. Jake McMillan's leading off of 4. He's going to take the white flag. But behind him, we've got some very intense racing for the final transfer spot in the 500. And we still got 3 miles of racing to go.
If you want to win this race, you're going to have to be on the bottom lane. I'm watching all those cars on the bottom lane because they're going to have the best runs through the corner, and the 21 is doing a great job of blocking that bottom lane, staying out front right now.
Christian Vargas has a lot to lose if he crashes right here, but he's going to try and make a move like right now. Here he comes. With help from Wyatt Dooling and Sam Warning, Orion Spartaco is safely in. Diego Yepes has gotten past Daniel Voiles. Voiles is on the outside looking in as Vargas makes a move on the inside for the lead coming through turn 4 on the last lap of this first duel. Coming through 4 for the final time. Christian Vargas off of 4. He started on pole and he's leading at the end. Christian Vargas wins duel 1, but behind him it looks as though Orion Spartaco has made the Pensacola 500 on his speed. Sam Warning is in, Diego Yepes is in, and sadly for Daniel Voiles, his hopes of making the 500 have gone in a puff of smoke as Diego Yepes finishes right in front of him. So Daniel Voiles will be heading home, but congratulations to Orion Spartaco, Diego Yepes, and Sam Warning. They have made it into the big race.
Man, oh man, and we had counted Spartaco out, and he came back with a big push from the draft behind him, and they caught up to that front pack, and he raced his way into this thing. And boy, is it unfortunate for those who weren't able to make it, but we came into the race knowing that some of the drivers would not make it into the Pensacola 500, and that's just the reality of it. So congratulations to those that made it in. It was a fantastic race to get in. I mean, absolutely amazing, and it was crazy. So, cross your fingers for me all.
With that being said, the speed weeks for Anderson Reed, Daniel Voiles, Joshua Lee, and Ethan Zanstra are done. They will be going home early, but congratulations to those who made it in. You've still got a race to run in duel number 2. Yep. Good luck to you in that race. We'll be joined by a driver who performed very well in this race in the booth for that one, so make sure to stay tuned. So wishing Duke Anzac luck in his second duel race, but right now the end of duel 1 is still very much in our minds, with Christian Vargas being able to edge out Sam Warning and Jake McMillan for the first of many victories this season.